Hey, what's going on, everybody? I hope you guys are having a good day. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. And today we have a great conversation for you. You guys know that we have a lot of panels that come through, and we'd like to hear from the perspectives from a lot of different Black people, not just the bougie Negroes on TV, but the smart Black folks that have something productive to say, something intelligent to say, something they can do to add to the conversation. So do me a favor as you come in. Please hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe button, all that good stuff. Make sure you hit the follow button, the notification bell, everything else, because we're building Black media and we can really use your help. So what is the topic for today? Well, a lot of people were talking today about this situation with a coach. Apparently, there's a football coach who's in some deep stuff because he got a little carried away on the field, and the whole community's been talking about it. He slapped the kid on the head, and it pretty much knocked him down. And I'm gonna pull the video up in a minute. But before we get started, I want to. I hope you guys can join me in. First of all, putting hashtag B1 in the chat to let us know that you're Black first. To be here, you have to be Black first. You cannot put any community above your own. So put hashtag B1 in the chat. And I'm going to introduce each of my panelists. The first panelist I want to introduce is Mr. John Harris. John is right there. John is he's a former football star at the University of Kentucky, and also he does a lot of work with Farmer Brown, the MC, and so he's a business manager in that capacity and does a lot of great things. Also, we have Mr. Jeff Licey Jr., who is a regular commentator at the Black Boss channel. He does ball sports. What's going on, Jeff? And another person we have is Mr. Juan McAllister, aka Chef Juan. What's going on, Juan? How you doing today, man?
Pretty good. How y'all?
Doing good. All right. And the last person we have is Mr. John F. Thomas, who is a writer and director out of Hollywood and a real cool guy, and he's also contributed on the Black Boss channel. All right, brother. So let's hop into this. Let me first. You know what? I just found a video of, and I hope it's the right one. I just found a video of the situation with the coach, and I'm gonna just play this video so that we can talk about this. And also, given that we're all Black men, I like to believe that we can give him a fair trial. This is a jury of his peers. White people are not his peers, right? So I think that we need to give him a fair trial right now. And let's get this cracking. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen real quick, and we're gonna just watch what the brother had to say and what went down, and then I'll get each of your takes on this. So let me hit a button here and spread this across the screen, and we're going to hit play now. Okay. So there he is. He looks pretty mad. There. Okay. Oh, and oh wow. And that okay, so he's it's pretty bad. Okay, so that video didn't have any audio with it, but who knows? Maybe it's like a moment of silence. I feel like we're having a moment of silence for his football career, because I don't know if he's gonna get too many coaching opportunities after going viral or something like that. All right, let's start with I'm gonna start with the OG in the room, John. John is I knew John back in college. He's been my buddy since '96. So John, and also you know what it's like to be on the football field at a high level. I mean, you were recruited by all the NFL teams and everything else, and I remember you were a star at Kentucky. What do you think that regular people need to understand about this incident that maybe they don't get, or do you just think it was just straight up over the line, no excuses? What do you think about that?
Well, this situation, my initial gut first reaction is, like, I don't have any kids, but my initial reaction is, oh, I wish him would. You know what I'm saying? I wish he would. You know, he in a lot of ways he did cross the line. especially as these young. He's supposed to be there in a position to help develop those young men, help gain their confidence. Help them be able to find their inner strength, and also to perform under pressure. But he crossed the line. Especially, I mean, 3 times. First you hit him, then you knock him down, then you shake him, and then push him off to the sideline. That's too much for a 9-year-old. That's I believe, and I think most people will believe that's too much for a 9-year-old. However, in football, football is not a graceful. At times it can be, but at the end of the day, it's a brute man sport. So, I mean, on one hand, a lot of times in football you will find that kind of reaction. But on the other hand, with 9-year-olds, that's way too much. It's way too much. I've had too many coaches. I've been with too many coaches, great coaches, and I mean, they've been able to do it without that kind of physical touch.
So let me ask you, John. Now did this incident, I didn't get a chance to look this up, but where did this happen? Did this happen down in Florida?
It was in Florida. It was in Georgia, I believe, at a football tournament. But
Kissimmee, Florida.
Yeah, it happened in Florida. The team's from Georgia.
Right.
The man from Georgia. Yeah.
Okay.
And the kid I think he had a few fumbles that game, and he was coming off of another fumble, and basically he's caught, making it hard for his team to win, and I guess his coach was voicing his displeasure, so to speak.
Okay. All right. So let me ask this, and by the way, some of you are sharing the coach's apology, and I see Dual Victory is sharing that. Thank you, Dual. And I'm going to actually pull up his apology because I want to make sure we hear all facts on this, because I don't want to just repeat whatever the white media is saying. I think that as Black men, like, our first obligation has to be to make sure he's fully heard. But then again, though, when you're wrong, you're wrong. So Jeff Lightsey Jr., I know you covered a lot of this stuff on the Black Boss channel. Tell us what your take is, just as a sports guy.
So like John said, when I originally saw it, it was just like, whoa, like, man, you just knocked out a 9-year-old. Like, you just laid him out and he was caught on camera. But then after like watching it and after thinking about like my experience with football, and I played Little League football, I had to think about it, and I was like, that isn't uncommon. Now, what I mean by that is in 2020, it might be uncommon. But I'm 25, so I was 9 years old over 15 years ago. So if we go back, to 15 years ago or 16 years ago, whatever, when I played Little League football, coaches put their hands on kids. Like, I mean, that happened. And I believe, and it wasn't just my coaches, and John can probably speak to it. Like, coaches they may have not struck a kid as hard as he struck that kid, but I've seen a coach hit a kid in the head before. Like, that's not uncommon. Like, multiple times. Like, I like to sit here and say, oh my God, like, I've never seen nothing like that before. It's the craziest thing in the world. I'd be lying, because that happens at the Little League level. Now in 2020, it's uncommon because cameras are everywhere, and we know what head trauma does not just to kids but to adults, and CTE and all the studies are now come out. But 10, 20 years ago, like, that was, and maybe it's still even common just without cameras. And when I say that, like, people are reacting like they should, because he was wrong. Don't get me wrong. When I say that is not uncommon, that doesn't mean that it's right. I'm still saying that the coach is wrong for putting his hands on that child. But even if you go back and watch the way football was played 15 years ago, like, hits like that aren't allowed. Like, you're not allowed, like, players can't even hit each other on the field that hard anymore. But to say that I've never seen a coach put his hands on a child, like, not just a player, but a child before, I've definitely seen it before. It was excessive, but I have seen that before. It just got caught on camera, and I hate it. I hate it for the kid. I hate it for the coach, but I wasn't surprised that the parent decided not to press charges or anything, because once again, I believe that coach really does care for that kid. I believe that coach really does care for his team, but it was excessive, and that's why all the backlash and discipline came right after.
It's funny you say that. I I'd be curious to know. Give me a yes or no. Jeff made a point that I would like to get the audience's take on this. Yes or no? Jeff said the coach. I believe the coach really cares for the kid. So everybody, if you believe he really cares for the kid, put a yes. If you don't think he cares about the kid, put a no. Put a yes or no in the chat. Do you think that he did it partly because he cared for the kid? Yes or no? And I'm gonna ask my panelists. I'm gonna go to you next, John. John F. Thomas. Give me a yes or no. Do you think he cared for the kid, or do you think he cared more about winning championships? Right? Because I don't know about y'all, but I've always been astonished by how serious like these grown ass men will take like pee wee football. Like I understand being competitive and all that. I used to be a youth track coach, and I hated to lose. I hated when we didn't practice hard enough. I also hated when the mothers would come to practice because the baby, look, 10-year-olds crying like, oh, it's too hard. And the mama would take the child off the track and be like, my baby needed some water. And we're like, you leave, get out of here, because we need to put your baby through hell so they can be ready to try to win. Right. And that's what's required. Right. That's that masculinity that's necessary. If you want to win, you got to go through some stuff. But in this case, I didn't feel like he did it because he cared. That wasn't, to me, that wasn't no love tap. That came off to me like, I'm pissed because we might win the championship and you are fucking it up. What do you think, John F. Thomas? What's your thought on this? Do you think he cared, or do you think he did it because he cared, or because he didn't care, or what do you think?
I think he cares, but the amount of his care for the game and the championship outweighed what he felt for their child. And even in this sense, if you think about it, if that's your first instinct to, because Jeff was saying, and like John was saying before, yeah, I played football before in middle school. I've been hit before, but not in that way. Like if a football coach was upset or the assistant coach was upset, the most they might use the clipboard on your helmet, not to where the clipboard broke, but just to get your attention, get your head in the game. Or they might slap you on your shoulder pad like, Pop, what are you doing? Come on, get out there. And they'll just give you a push, not to push you on the ground. Because that's a child, man. That's a child. Like they're not even. I haven't really seen anybody do that to a teenager or a grown man where they push another player onto the ground. So that was very excessive to me. So I think he loved the game in a sense more than he cared about their child. And for that to be your first instinct to attack the child in that manner, to push him on the ground and push him so hard that he almost falls over. You need therapy in this sense, because how have you been raised? You know what I'm saying? 'Cause that's your first instinct to, I'm going to attack you. I'm going to show you my strength and, be like, dude, you that's cowardly, I would say.
Okay. All right. So Juan, yes or no? Do you think he did it because he cared, or do you think he did about the kid, not about winning? We know he cared about something, right? Because he might go to jail because whatever it was he cared about. But you think he did it because he cared about the kid, or no, you think he did it because he cared more about winning, or what are your thoughts on that? Oh, Juan, let me see. I think your mic's muted, Juan.
Oh, hello?
Yep.
Can you hear me? Okay, yeah. I didn't hear the question. I was having some bad feedback, but I had some points that kind of alluded to what the brother John from, I guess, played football from Kentucky was alluding to, was that, coaching is when you are trying to develop from your experience as a coach, the individual, and, you're trying to provide guidance and this and that. And then you have discipline, which is when you're training someone to obey a code or rules, but, you're trying to make sure their behavior is either punished, from, I guess, to correct the disobedience. But then you got the next level is where you're talking about abuse right now, is where, you got a bad effect with a person and you're using cruelty and violence. And I think this was neither disciplining, this wasn't coaching. This act was pretty much an abusive act. And I just don't think that he really at that particular moment showed any kind of compassion toward the child. I mean, it was like you said, it was a 9-year-old child. Wasn't even an adult, even going to that extreme, even with an adult was extreme. But when you're talking about a child, you're talking about a whole nother level of abuse. And that to me is pretty much where I saw it.
Okay. So So we actually have a female perspective in here, which I think is good because we all have our perspective. Most of us play sports. Which of you guys? I know John. I know Jeff play football. John F. Thomas, you play. Juan, do you play a sport? Football, basketball, track, anything like that?
Now, I used to play basketball. Intramural basketball was in college. I never played like football, like actual coach football like that. But this out there in the street. That was back in the 70s. I used to pretend I was Lynn Swan or somebody, but nothing like that. But I've never had even coaching. I was in a fraternity. I'm in a fraternity. But
you know what it's like to get beat a little bit.
Well, no, I know. I'll tell you this. That never happened to me. That's a whole other story.
Sure.
All right.
That never happened to me.
Let me bring in a woman's. Let me bring in a woman's point of view on this. Ro, I assume you saw the video with the coach, and what you mentioned earlier. I'm gonna tell y'all. Ro said that people don't want to hear my perspective. People will not be ready for it, which that made me that much more interested in hearing what she had to say. So, Ro, give us your take and give us your honest take on just that whole situation, what you saw.
I want to preface again by saying that especially with this subject, I generally have a very unpopular opinion. I come from a family that does not tolerate or excuse hitting children at all. And like I said before, I come from an extremely pro-Black family. So for us to be so pro-Black and so anti hitting children is really odd in Black America. My husband asked me, I asked my husband before we even met, what he thought about spanking and hitting children. And my husband, if you all are not aware, he is from Martinique and from France. He's a Black man from Martinique and from France. And he told me that he didn't understand the question because he thought that was over in the 70s. And I didn't tell him immediately that, no, it's definitely not over. Black people are still hitting each other. I believe that we are focusing on the wrong thing. We're focusing on this one guy. We're focusing on football. We're again focusing on entertainment. And the truth is what we are seeing is the extinction of Black America and the fighting and kicking on our way down. There will be so many more incidents like this. They will be multiplied. When we saw Bill Cosby go to jail, we should all have had a huge wake-up call that this is going to get deeper and deeper and deeper until things explode. And basically, we're actually living in the explosion. While we're living in an explosion, while we're going down, we still have managed to be able to pretend that we can focus on football, right? I have a problem with people who change focuses every couple of weeks. I have a problem with the fact that our people don't seem to be able to focus longer than 2 weeks. I actually had a contest with Black people on how long they could focus. And if people were able to focus, they could get a free trip to Paris, which everybody wanted, right? There were 200 people in this contest. One person made it to the end, and all they had to do was check in one time daily and say, still focused. One person. One person. So I beg everybody to understand that this is actually not about the importance of Black children and being hit. This is about talking about the next focus. And it's also about the fact that people don't want our elephants showing, okay? We're embarrassed by the fact that it have been in America for 401 years. We're still not treated in any type of humane way. And it embarrasses us to have to talk about one of the worst elephants in the room in our culture, which is the abuse of Black children.
Okay, so abuse, that's an interesting term. And I'll tell you what, when I was asking what people thought about this action, if he did it because he cared about the kid or if he did it because he cared about something else, a lot of you felt that he didn't care about the kid. But then there were some of you who felt that he did it out of love. And what I think about is this. I grew up, I got spanked when I was little, and I had a tough father. My father was a Vietnam veteran who's gone through a lot. And sometimes his tough love turned into anger, right? And that anger was probably considered abusive. And when I look back on that, a part of me, obviously would be very mad about that. Like you didn't have to do it that way. But then there's another part of me that felt like, life can be abusive. I know other feelings that experiences I've had. Losing, if you're an athlete, getting your ass kicked can feel abusive. That's very painful. Being humiliated because you're not prepared for battle can be abusive.
Those are adult things, and
right
in our culture, the main thing that we do in our culture, because almost 100% of us were hit as children. The number one thing that we do is we try to rationalize it and normalize it and say, okay, well, other things have happened to me. No, we are traumatized people. We have never healed from the beatings that we had 400 years ago. We're actually making up degrees, talking about there's a degree of hitting, there's a degree of this and a degree of that. He shouldn't have hit him like this. He should have hit him some other kind of way. I do not accept this. My father wasn't hit. My father lived to be 67 years old.
Now, did your father play football?
That's what I was about to say. This football.
Let me hold on. Wait. In football, you get hit a lot. And they want to break your legs. Right. But I think that we have to have that balance, though. It can't just be hitting is always bad. Because then that would nullify the whole
game.
You are absolutely
together, right?
Listen, what country on earth?
Football is a collision sport.
Which countries? Oh, that's a good
Canada and the United States.
Or maybe boxing, right? A lot of countries have boxing. You get hit.
But football involves damage to the
frontal lobe.
But they get hit.
Football involves damage to the frontal lobe that is irreparable. Yeah. Football means that you are willing to lose your brain matter to try to make some money. Trying to sell your body, that's like selling your body because you're a slave.
Okay,
my father played lots of things, lots of masculine things. My father will not risk his mind to play football. That would be the opposite.
I do agree with that, right? Like, so let me talk to a guy who probably took some hits to the frontal lobe, but he's still smart enough to respond to the question. John, since John's the best football player in the group, right? John, I was looking at a brother today online, actually, literally today, Myron Rowe, who's a neurosurgeon, who also was a superstar at Florida State. He actually, to Rowe's point, he actually pissed off the NFL because he actually said that my academics is just as important, if not more important, than playing football. They took that as a lack of commitment. Like, you're not serious if you want to go do this educational thing. But he did it anyway. He went and became a Rhodes Scholar. Then he came back to the NFL, and I think he had a good career there. I don't know who he played for, but I'm sure you guys can tell me. But so what do you think about that in terms of just, when you as a player go out there and you said this, and you don't remember this conversation you and I had. We had this, man, I swear, this tells you how old we are. Me and John had this conversation 24 years ago. And John was explaining to me, I was your math tutor. I remember that. And John told me, he said, every time I go on the field, I'm putting my life on the line. Every time I step out there, I'm risking my life. And I never forgot that. And so knowing that you're going out there and you're risking your life, what makes you go out there and take those hits and risking your life? What was it about it that drove you to want to be a great football player, despite all the risk and everything that Ro just mentioned?
Because of where I came from, the struggles I had to deal with, growing up off Moncrief Road in Jacksonville, Florida. Cat Williams did a special down there in Jacksonville, and he talks about Moncrief Road. And it's like literally one of the most dangerous streets in America. And this was home for me. So, trying to make my friends and family proud there, just not wanting to go back to that kind of struggle. You know, there's a lot of different motivations. You know, for me, you know, my mother sat me down in 8th grade and said, "You're going to college. No, I can't pay for it. Figure it out." And football was one of the answers I had. You know, I didn't have to play football, but I liked hitting people. You know, I like hitting people, and I got cheered for it, and it paid for my school. You know, I got my economics degree because I hit people well.
Interesting. Yeah, and I know your late mother. She was really big on education. But
Yes.
To Rose's point, because I remember you were a great student in school too, right? Like a straight A student and all that stuff, right?
Off and on. I had,
but pretty close.
I did make the dean's list, but you know, I had some slim years too. But I was in the midst of a lot of other, you know, when I got hurt playing football, and I had football taken away from me, that took me to a low place. But dealing with abuse in kids, I think as a community, as a Black community, we do need to understand that there are a lot more different ways to discipline our kids. For instance, for me, I had a very creative mother and father. Like whatever I did wrong, like say if I told a lie, I was a very young child, but if I told a lie, I had the right, I will not tell a lie 10,000 times, neat and numbered, and I was on punishment until that task was done. When I say punishment, literally all I could do was wake up, use the bathroom, eat, and go to school. That's it. You know, when I got put on punishment, they felt like jail terms. Like they were at months at a time. You know what I'm saying? My father would make me write the dictionary as punishment. I have excellent penmanship to this day. You know, everybody says I write like a girl. You know, but it gave me positive reinforcement. I was reading things. I was still learning. It was punishment. The punishment form was I couldn't do what I wanted to do. But while I could not do what I wanted to do, I'm at least learning something.
Interesting. Okay, so let me jump in and ask Jeff. Okay, so let's go back to what this guy did, right? I think I'm guessing most of us can agree that he did too much. He shouldn't have done what he did. Do you think that we're saying, Jeff, that any form of physical engagement with the kid was just all out of bounds? Or what if he just walks up and smacked him on his helmet? Like, what's wrong with you? What are you doing?
Well,
like, I think that would be. What do you think?
I think some people would find that more acceptable, right? I mean, but we have to realize that the climate that we're in, as far as, you know, we've advanced as a country, we've advanced as a people. But like I said, when I grew up, I saw coaches put their hands on kids like that. That isn't uncommon. Like, and I'm sure they still are to this day. Not to say that it's right or wrong, but I think what most people are saying is not the fact that some folks obviously are saying he should have never touched them, right? Like, I mean, like to Rose's point, they're saying that is just doing too much. But football is a physical game. They're out there getting touched the entire time. I think most people are saying it was excessive, right? To hit a kid with so much force that you knock him to the ground after already striking him once, right? You already struck him once. Then you hit him so hard that he fell to the ground. Then to John Thomas's point, that you throw him off the field, right? Like after that. So you got a 3-for-1, which is just out of control. Like that was the excessive nature. But to say that any form of discipline during the course of a football game, you fumble 3 times, some sort of discipline is going to take place, whether it's getting chewed out, cursed at, yelled at. No. On the football field, that's what's going to happen. I mean, that's just what takes place.
The children need fathers. The coach knows that the children don't have fathers, and this is why you're seeing these normal.
Well, what I don't know about that though. I don't know about that.
Like I play football. I have a father. What do you think, bro? I mean,
there's some
everybody
dads
knows
out there.
They don't have fathers.
There's some dads out there though.
Some of them don't, but some of them do. But he wouldn't be allowed to hit my son like that. Like you slap my son, like I'm gonna slap you the exact same way you just slapped my son, right? Like that. So I do agree with that point. But I don't know if it's missing fathers. Football really is a violent sport, right?
It is.
And I think
you can't be soft and play football. Like at the end of the day, you cannot. If you want to be successful, you can be soft and be a garbage team. But football is like John Henry said, it's a collision sport. Like the whole purpose of the game is to enforce your will on another man. So if I'm enforcing my will,
let Ro get a point. Wait,
I have known Wally Williams as a friend when I lived in New Orleans. He played for the New Orleans Saints, and he told me several times that Ro, they treat us in a way that we don't want to talk about. They treat us like they own us because they do.
You mean was he talking about the Saints?
The owners of the owners and the coaches.
Right.
He said they treat us, they trade us, and they treat us. They don't just trade us, and it's a funny, interesting word. They literally treat us like property. He had a son. He refused to allow his son to learn football or to practice or even be interested in football. He's like, I'm not getting beat up in my head and ruining myself and ruining my body and shortening my life for my son to repeat this. If I'm going to do it, that's going to be the end of that, because I will not have my son be treated like I am. I'm the slave.
Now, I do think that's a legitimate point. Like I will say that once that CTE movie came out and the depth of the brain damage, I know a lot of guys who played a lot of years in the NFL who are like, I wouldn't have done this again. Like, what was that guy's name? Y'all got to help me, the football experts that played for the Steelers, Antoine Randall L. That's it. And I had met him it was actually before the CTE stuff had gotten real big. I just started hearing about it. And we were at a speaking thing, and we were just sitting in the hallway talking. And I said, yeah, do you know anybody that has that CTE, that brain damage thing? He said, oh yeah, I got a lot of friends like that. He said, I got friends that'll go pick up their kids from school and can't remember how to get back home, and stuff like that. Or they'll see you and talk to you, and then 2 minutes later they'll greet you again as if they never had the conversation with you the first time. And I didn't know that it had actually affected him. So a year later, Antoine was in the USA Today on the cover, and he said, now this is a guy who won a Super Bowl. He said, I wish I'd never played football, because he talked about the symptoms he was having from CTE and all that. So I do think that there's a conversation there to be had with that, right?
Yeah, now, so we're talking about this going, hey, if you want to be good, no, we don't want to be good. Okay? We want our
you got to speak for yourself on that, though. Some of us want to be good.
Why are our children for sale? Us. Why do we have to sell our children's bodies and their brains? Why? Why is that?
That's a good point. Football?
Wait, say it again.
White people play football too, though.
We're not talking about them. I don't want to focus on them. I want to focus on us.
Well, look at the life that's going on for us. You got police trying to kill us. We're killing ourselves. Gang violence.
Those are very good points. And the more
it's a violent world.
We get physical
and
with
to
our
deal
children,
with a violent world, you need to know how to deal with violence violently.
This is not a violent
world.
This is not a violent world. It's a violent country.
Well,
the world is not America. More that we put our hands on our children,
everybody got
the more that we put our hands on our children, the more they are going to be compliant.
Y'all sound like the argument me and Alicia just had too. Alicia, she tells me that war is never necessary, and I'm like, no. If war is declared on you, you better be able to fight back, or you get conquered, right?
That's definitely true. I'm telling you, that is definitely true, because that's the father that I come from. War, you got to be ready for war. Okay, I totally get it. But the
only way to get ready to fight is to know how to deal with getting punched in the mouth and how to punch people in the mouth.
And that's what football's about.
And how to bob and weave. My granddaddy always told me the name of this game is to hit, not get hit.
Let's I've heard from Juan or John F. Thomas. So Juan, we'll go to you, and then John. What do you think about all of this, Juan? What's going through your head?
Okay. First of all, this was not a fair fight. The coach, basically sucker punched him like he was grown ass man. First of all, and my point too was that it seemed to me that there really wasn't any ramifications for this guy's actions on what he did to that boy with them other coaches that were standing around. From what I saw the rest of the video, 'cause I didn't even know he actually like drug him off. I didn't see the entire video that you just shown, the other boys, but I didn't realize he had drug him off. But like no one did nothing, and it's like if I was there, we would have been talking about another incident. Being perfectly honest with you, because it was almost like reminiscent of the like George Floyd situation when he was sitting there dying, but you had all these spectators and like no one really wanted to step up and do anything about it. And my thing is, you know, the kid, you know, he's a 9-year-old kid. He's still developing, maybe understanding the game, but to come, I mean, there's something mentally wrong with this coach. And even his apology, which I guess we'll get into that later, was something I just dissected. And I just couldn't believe some of the stuff that was coming out of that Negro's mouth, be perfectly honest with you. But I agree with Ro. This is you know, that wasn't a fair fight. He wasn't trying to be he wasn't coaching at that point, in my opinion. He wasn't coaching at all. This was just straight up abuse.
Well, let me ask you all about this then. So John F. Thomas, the mother of the child did not want to press charges against the coach. I don't know if she felt like it should be handled internally or she felt like it shouldn't be handled at all. Do you think that the mother's opinion should matter at all? Or do you think that the authorities were right to say, we don't care what the mother wants to do? The state said, we don't care what the mother says. We're going to prosecute. What do you think about that?
I think that, I mean, the mother's opinion does count. But at that point, since nobody was there to step on the field, and you have a lot of other fathers that would come out there and just be like, I mean, that came out, and even celebrity fathers, you know, regular fathers and celebrity fathers that came out and said, I would have put my hands on that dude. I mean, it's uniform where it's just like, hey, that's not cool. Just like we said, that was very excessive. That was too much. And this guy needs therapy. Like he really, and the sad thing is this dude, not only is he a coach, but he's also a counselor at the sheriff's station. I think for the Chapman County Detention Center. So he is a counselor there. So also on top of that, you should really know better, because you are dealing with people who deal with the law, and you're supposed to, again, this is police officer, you're supposed to be a peace officer. And you know, that's not really mostly true, but you know, it's just like across the board. I mean, if you do this here, ain't no telling what you do on the field when you don't have these people here. You don't have cameras around. Ain't no telling what you do when you get back to the locker room, for instance. And this is what he did in front of everybody. So, and like I said, that's your first instinct. That's the first thing I'm gonna do is knock this kid over, knock him down. Man, you're doing too much. Like what's the next line? If you cross that line, ain't no telling what you're gonna do.
Right. Well, let me show you his apology. I'm gonna pull up his apology so everybody can kind of hear from him directly. These are the words out of his mouth. And so as we do this, everybody, please do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. This is our all black intellectual chocolate panel. We do a lot of panels every single week, typically 8 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you subscribe to drboystv.com, or you can also go to the allblackagenda.com, where you can get free resources on the All Black Agenda and make your family better. That's the goal. So hit the thumbs up button. Everybody, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Also hit the notification bell and all that stuff. So I'm going to share with you the video of his apology. And I'd like to go circle back to John, Big John, the football player, and ask him what his thoughts are on the apology and whether it's an adequate apology or not. So give me a second. Let me share my screen real quick. Let's see here. All right. Okay, I'm sharing my audio. Here we go.
Everybody that's seen the video, everyone has something negative to say. You know, I'm gonna apologize for my actions about what took place. But at the end of the day, I am a man, and I'm not gonna make no excuses for what I did. I was wrong. I should have disciplined him in public. I should have waited till we got back for doing what he did. At the end of the day, I apologize to him, the kids, the city down here, and my family back at home. I do apologize. There's no excuse for my actions. You know, I hope he forgave me, and his parents have forgiven me, so nobody else should be bashing. Thank you.
All right. So were you guys able to hear that apology clearly, or did it sound kind of low? You able to hear?
I heard it. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I turned it up on my end, so I was able to hear it.
Okay, good stuff. All right. So let me start with you, John Harris. What did you think about the apology?
again, that apology would have been a lot differently. That apology would have came out a lot different if when he did that to that child on that sideline, if it wasn't that child's father, if a father would have went down there and confronted him on the spot, that I guarantee you that apology would have went a lot different. And that's the problem. That's the main problem I have is that in the moment, on the spot, when they was present and those actions were being placed, that's when that child should have been protected. That somebody should have confronted that coach, and that's when it should have been handled. As far as whatever happens after that, whether it be him, with the law or him getting charged, it's irrelevant. It should have been handled on that field at that moment in the present time when that child was getting hurt.
Okay. Yeah. So you think that if there had been a father, if there were fathers involved, which goes back to Rose's point, you're right. It's hard to imagine a kid with a father in the stands, with the father watching his son get beat like that by another man. Right. That's an interesting point. Jeff Lightsey Jr., what are your thoughts?
Well, we also have to. Well, first on the apology was weak, right? Like it wasn't compassionate. He was still trying to be tough and strong, and like, man, it's over, bro. Like you hit this kid, you were excessive. There's no need to be a tough guy anymore. There's no need to show that you this manly man or the kid accepted me. The mother accepted me, so everybody else, all the trolls, y'all go on somewhere. No, man, when you go viral, like when you do something in the public sphere and you go viral, you're going to get opinions and you're going to get people that bash you or that call you out of your name or do whatever. You just got to live with that. Like, that is what it is. What I will say is that we have to put things into context as far as like him not being approached. Yes, his coaches and everybody should have ran up on dude, like should have corrected that at the time. We have to remember that this team was out of town, and sporting events are not allowing, like, it's a capacity on fans or whoever in the building. So the coaches should have confronted him. I will say his family or whatever probably wasn't there to jump up on dude simply because they were in Florida and this team is based out of Georgia. So that family probably didn't make that crosstown trip or whatever. So that we do have to take that into account a little bit as well. But the apology was hella weak. Like it was more along the lines of, yeah, I'm still trying to be tough. I'm still trying to be a football coach or whatever in this moment. But at this moment right now, like, we know that was excessive. We know what you did was wrong. You just need to own up to that and let everybody know that, hey, I'm wrong and this is what I'm trying to do to correct it.
All right, Ro, what is your thought on the apology?
I think that Black American men need to increase their masculinity and protective skills and marry some of these mothers.
Okay.
That's what I think.
All right. Right to the point. All right, Juan, your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I wrote about 3 points. First, he felt as though there was no need for anyone to bash him, right? For what happened, simply because the mother forgave him. And that was an indication on Rose's point that there seems to be no father present maybe in this young boy's life. And to me, that was just some mental illness on his part. He had no accountability for his actions. Then he blamed his actions on the fact that he's a man, which kind of threw me, because it's like, oh, okay, so now you're trying to say just because you're a man, you don't, you make mistakes or something like that. But you have really no idea as to what real manhood is. And that's going back to Rose's point that, you need to step up as a man. Finally, what really got me totally disturbed was that he said that the major problem that he felt he shouldn't have done what he did in public. He should have done it privately. Now, what in the hell were you going to do privately with this boy?
Right.
Yeah. What is that about? So it's like, no accountability for his actions, none at all. And it wasn't an apology. It was just a statement to me, because it sounded like some Trump BS what came out of his mouth to me. But it just annoys me that he would just basically do what he did to this kid and this abuse. It was, like I said, it's just straight up abuse.
Okay. So John F. Thomas, I'm curious. So he mentions, I'm gonna read this part that really got my attention. He says, I shouldn't have disciplined him in public. I should have waited till we got back for doing what he did. At the end of the day, I apologize to him, the kids, the city out here, and my family back at home. I do apologize. There's no excuse for my actions. I almost feel like it's interesting. First of all, he got fired from his job, by the way, in case anybody wants to know. Their job at the detention center. That's what happens when you go viral. But also, when he says I should have done this in private, it's almost like he's snitching on himself. Like you're just basically saying, yeah, if nobody had been watching, I would have done the same thing, so there wouldn't be any evidence. It almost makes him guiltier, like his apology made things worse. What do you think, John F. Thomas?
No, I definitely agree with that because, I mean, again, we got to remember, not only was he a football coach for this team, he was also a counselor for the sheriff office's detention center. So he works with police officers, and we've seen this kind of apology a lot of times before from police officers who have killed black men and black children, black women in the streets. And then they give this weak, half-assed apology. And that's the same thing he's giving because he's in that community where it's just like, man, whatever, I don't care. I'm sorry I got caught. And that's just not cool. And for him to say, I should have disciplined him in private, no, you shouldn't have done that at all. That's the thing. You shouldn't have done that at all. If you are to be a man, and he mentions man, but he has the definition of man wrong. Being a man means just because you can doesn't mean you should. I can do a lot of things, but it doesn't mean I should do those things. So to be a man is more than just me flexing my muscle, flexing my strength. I have to use my mind too. Let me see, is this the right way to reach this kid? This kid is looking up to me. I'm his coach. These years are his formative years where when he grows up, he's going to remember these years later on. Like, oh man, I had a really great coach, or my coach was an asshole. Because the way he went about doing this, and this will be my last point, is if you are you're basically showing him fear, which will lead to anger, then resentment, then retribution, or a recycled version of what was done to him. So he might enact that same thing upon somebody else, whether that be his family, his friends, or somebody that he's mentoring. So you're just repeating that same cycle.
Okay. All right, everybody who's watching, I want to let you guys know what we're doing here.
That's the danger.
We are here with an all-black intellectual chocolate panel discussing the coach down in Florida, out of Georgia, who beat the little kid, the little 9-year-old, smacked him upside the head, knocked him down, and stuff like that. And I think the panel decided that he needs to correct some shit. I mean, I think that's the verdict for sure. We don't hate him. We just we want to see him do better. And we want to see what's best for the kids. So everybody who's watching, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell right now. Please do that. Also, if you want to hear the voices of black men and on a lot of issues, from sports to politics to hip hop to everything else, go to the blackbosschannel.com. THE. It's right there on the screen. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell. So black men are talking, and we should be listening because brothers have things to say too. So by the way, so I want to make a quick thought, share a quick thought, and then I'd like for each of our panelists to maybe in 60 to 96 just give me your final thought on this in terms of how to move forward from here, what we can learn from this too. I think that's really important. And I'll say this: I really I'm not a person who wants to be naive about how the world works. I believe human beings can do terrible things to each other. I think that you need men prepared to deal with that, and sometimes your preparation comes in a form that could be almost defined as being tough and traumatic. I've gone through some trauma, and by processing the trauma, though, I found that anything that makes me strong to this day comes from the fact that I went through some hell. Any heaven I have access to now, is because I went through hell. I went to the very bottom in order to have a chance to reach the top, and I just believe that that's just kind of how life works. However, I think that there's a way to do it with love, where the good always outweighs the bad. And I think that this coach smacking him upside the head and all that, and doing this at the age of 9, where he can't fully even comprehend exactly what's going on or why, I thought that was over the top, But anyway, I'd like to start with John, Big John. So John Harris, I've known him for 20-some years. I should know you. John Harris, what is your final thought on this, in terms of what we can take away from it, and how to move forward, how to kind of process these things when we see these things happen?
Well, first of all, I think is black men, I'm speaking to you out there. If you can step in, if you can intervene, if you can stop, do it. That's our job. And I also want to just point out that there are a lot of coaches across this country, all over our community, that are giving their time, blood, sweat, tears, years to these kids to help them develop to be better individuals, and they're doing a great job. And they are being second and surrogate fathers to a lot of kids, and are doing a great job. I just want to salute those guys and hold them up, because they're not getting rich for doing it. They're doing it out of love.
Okay. All right. So thanks for that point, John. And you're right. So John is also saying, take care of your damn kids. So your kid ain't out here being smacked upside the head by a stranger. He should at least get his head smacked by you.
At least teach him how to do it.
I'm joking. I'm just joking. Right. But if any man was slapping me upside the head when I was 9, I wanted it to be my daddy, not somebody else's daddy. Right. But really being smacked upside the head at 9, we can debate whether or not that's necessary. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if I need to get smacked a little bit, but we'll talk about that another day. That's my craziness coming out. So Jeff Lightsey Jr., your final thought.
Just like I said, there's a way of, even in the game of football, of letting someone know that they did something wrong without being overly aggressive, without trying to show that you're this big manly man, without trying to hurt someone, right? Or without hurting someone. Like you can prove a point without being excessive and without doing damage to a child. And that is what I think is just our biggest takeaway in this aspect, because we know football is a violent sport. We know that they're going out there and they're hitting each other and stuff, but the coach don't need to be putting his hands on the kids and doing what what this man did. And kind of just to John Harris' point, just we have to step up as a community and not allow some of the things that were done to us to continue to do that, right? Like that, just because it was done to us doesn't mean it's right to do. It doesn't mean it needs to be passed on. And that's just my final points on that.
Okay. All right. So Ms. Rowe, what are your final thoughts as we walk out of here?
I want to say that I am so clear that boys need to have struggles and challenges and hardship, and that is a part of African culture for boys to go through rites of passage to become men. I'm so clear that we are so disconnected from our African roots that we try to make ourselves believe that what that looks like is physically trying to fight our own children. In our continent that we come from, it is very strongly ingrained in us that we are to only fight enemies. We are only to try to put our hands on enemies. The children in African villages and African great cities across the African nation, when their fathers put them through rites of passage, they make sure that they know how to fight. They make sure they know how to defend. They make sure that they know how to find food. They make sure that they know how to protect their family. And they don't do that in a way that removes their masculinity before it fully develops. What we're talking about today is a whole bunch of American men who don't know what it would have been like if their masculinity was never stolen from them so young. It's called childhood emasculation. And everybody in Africa knows that you're supposed to hold the boy's emasculation in the palm of your hands like something so valuable because it's not developed yet. You're not supposed to take it away. And I also want to say that we have to remember that when you teach your son or your daughter that they need to comply with their body in order for someone else to do what they want, that is the gateway to sexual abuse. And it's exactly why Black America has an extremely odd and sick number and rate of sexual abuse of children. We can't be ignoring all of these things. It's too out of control. The sexual abuse thing is connected to the physical abuse thing. Bend over, let me hit you is the next step before bend over and let me do something else. Okay, let's all be clear. And the last thing I want to say is we have super parenting course. And that's what we offer to make sure that people are clear about the healing that needs to happen for us to be good parents, and then how to apply great parenting as African blooded people. We don't need more fatherless children. We don't need more coaches thinking and understanding that they can do whatever they want because the mothers are so desperate for the child to have a father figure in their lives. It's sad, and it's a pathetic attempt at a father. The reason he did what he did is because he knew that nobody was going to stop him, including the mother.
All right. So, and I love what Ro just said, and that for some reason that everything everybody says comes back in my head to take care of your own damn kids. Don't let the football coach be the father for your kids. You get out there, but also to that point of emasculation. You know, you did see a grown man dominating a 9-year-old, which doesn't make you much of a man at all. Anybody can dominate a 9-year-old, and so I think that there's something to be said about that. So Juan, your final statement.
I just think that we need as men. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there's a delay.
I just think we just need to step up. Oh, it is okay. Yeah, I think we just need to step up as men, protect our village. Also, we as men have to show compassion, and there was no reason for this man to do what he did to that child. And it seems like there's a systemic culture, I guess, that was ingrained in him. Maybe like based on John said, based on his occupation, the environment that he's been in. And we just need to also be cognizant of that element as well. But at the same time, whenever we see something that ain't right, we just need to have the courage, the fortitude just to go ahead and handle it, you know. And like the brother said, that statement he made would have been an apology, more so than what it was. It just disheartens me to see what happened.
The men in that football
now this young man is going to be stained in some form or fashion.
The men who were there should have tackled him to the ground. There should have been immediate retaliation.
I agree.
That is completely unacceptable. There is nothing that gets me more heated than child abuse. You want to make me lose my mind? Child abuse. Our children need us. They need us so badly. There's nobody in their corner. Nobody cares about them.
Yep.
Nobody cares about our children.
Hey, boys, you were supposed to get hands and feet put on them, man. You're supposed to get them Fifth Ward B's, you know.
Yeah, we should have got a Q ass whipping. Got a Q ass whipping.
You're supposed to be reading some Nikes.
All right. So now that we've all agreed that what we would do if we knew this guy, John F. Thomas, I'd like to hear your final thought on this. What's on your mind, brother?
That at the end of the day, like, this guy needs therapy. Like I said, he's supposed to be, if anything, a backup male figure for this kid. And he is the worst example of what that male figure should be. And not only him, I mean, because a lot of times we just want to attack the person, but it should be a reflection also upon us that he felt so comfortable to do that. So we need to step in, just like Rose said, and Juan said, that other people should have stepped in and stopped him. And we as men, the same thing like John Harris said earlier, we as men need to step in even sooner. When we see something wrong, we need to step in and stop that, because we are honestly all we got. The black men, again, we need to support and protect one another and correct one another when one of us does something wrong. And that's not cool, because we're supposed to be a village. We're supposed to be a community, and we need to start acting more like it, because we are being attacked from all corners, all angles. And here we are in this video attacking each other. A person that's supposed to protect me is attacking me, not out of love, but out of anger, because I made a few mistakes. And that's not even the right way of disciplining, you know? So we need to just crowd around one another and support one another, help one another, correct one another. And all of us honestly need therapy. This man needs therapy. We are going through so much mentally that we all need therapy. And a lot of this stuff would be fixed if we just gave ourselves a little bit, well, not a little bit, a lot more self-love.
Well, I think that's a great point. And I will second that emotion by saying that as a person who has gotten therapy myself, and I've learned how to give myself therapy, I'm big on self-help and and overcoming your own stuff. No matter how healthy you are mentally, everybody can benefit from therapy. If you're already good, then you could become great. Therapy can help you become a great person. Or if you are a bad person, or if you got some areas that are problematic, there is therapy out there that can help you. And it doesn't mean that you're just unworthy. It means you're worthy of improvement. You're worthy of greatness. You're worthy of your potential and your possibility. So I'm a big believer in therapy, and I will publicly state that I, to this day, go through lots and lots of therapeutic stuff. And that's how you find your balance. That's how you find your peace and find your bliss in a crazy world. So I want to say thank you very much to all the panelists on tonight's Intellectual Chocolate panel. Thank you very much, John Harris, Jeff Lightsey Jr., Ro Gronganois. Did I get it right, Ro? Am I close? Okay, we got to practice. So Ro and CEO of Black Wealth U, also Juan McAllister, Chef Juan, John F. Thomas, award-winning filmmaker and writer and director out of Hollywood. And thank you all for hanging out with us. Do me a favor before you go. Please hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Also, subscribe to the Black Boss channel if you haven't done it yet. It's a great platform, especially for those who want to hear from Black men, or if you are a Black man. And also, don't forget at the allblackagenda.com, there is a lot of resources there where you can actually take control of your family and make your life better. A lot of the resources are very much free. For example, we link to Ice Cube's contract with Black America, which is very good. The $5 a day investment plan, which is very good. There's a lot of resources there, which are very good. So feel free to go to the allblackagenda.com. And also, last thing I'll say, this is a personal thing, is everybody who's out here coaching these kids, don't take this stuff too serious. Because, all of us know somebody where things didn't work out in high school and you're like reliving your high school days through a damn 8-year-old. Come on, man. You need to be first in line with therapy if you're trying to relive high school through a bunch of peewee kids, right? They're out there trying to have fun. Make sure they're better off after working with you than they were before they got there. Because that's one thing I never understood is some of these coaches that really take the coaching that serious. It's not that serious. And this guy's gonna go to jail most likely, and I don't think it's worth going to jail and losing your job. So let's not do that. So thanks a lot, everybody. It's great to see you, and everybody have a good night. #B1 in the chat on your way out. I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Peace.
Bye.